Welcome to the Capitol Report on NTD Television. I'm Steve Lance. Devon Archer, he served with Hunter Biden on Burisma's board of directors. Today, Archer spoke behind closed doors with members of the House Oversight Committee. Did the committee uncover any evidence of the president's involvement in his son Hunter's business dealings? NTD's Melina Wisecup is on site at the O'Neill office building in D.C. with the details.
Devon Archer left the building without commenting or answering questions from reporters after giving an hours-long testimony to House Oversight Committee members on his firsthand knowledge with regards to Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings. The big question here is whether he said anything that Republicans can use as evidence to start an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. Now, most Republicans left without coming to speak to reporters. The one Republican that we did get a hold of, Congressman Andy Biggs, said that Archer testified that Burisma would have gone out of business a lot sooner had the Biden brand not been invoked. Now, what exactly does that mean? Another congressman, a Democrat, Dan Goldman, said that Hunter Biden sold the illusion of access to his father when he served as vice president by finding ways to take credit for things that he actually had no involvement in.
Such as when Vice President Biden went to Ukraine on his own, Hunter said, well, let's tell them that I have no idea what's going to happen, but I can take credit for the fact that he's going.
Now, there was a lot of focus on roughly 20 instances where Archer said he witnessed Hunter Biden call his father and put President Biden on speakerphone and asked him to say hello to his guests, which sometimes were his business associates. But Archer says in those conversations, they didn't speak about business at all. It was mainly just, nice talk, very polite speaking, nothing very directly involved with business. But we will know more from what Archer had to say when that written transcript becomes available in the coming days. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Wisecup, NTD News.
Joining us now to discuss the congressional testimony today by Hunter Biden's former business associate, Devon Archer, we sat down with Dr. Stephen Allen. Dr. Allen is a senior fellow at the Capitol Research Center and a journalist with 45 years' experience. He served as press secretary to former Senator Jeremiah Denton and as senior researcher for Newt Gingrich's presidential campaign. Dr. Stephen Allen, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be with you.
Of course. So you have Hunter Biden, close friend and associate Devon Archer being deposed by the House Oversight Committee today. What do you think, Dr. Allen, that they're looking for?
Oh, they want all the little details that make their case. We've had a general outline of this since the laptop became available. It was known to the FBI in 2019, but the general public in 2020. And there was this scheme that the Biden family supported itself off of payoffs from foreign people, particularly Ukrainian organized crime and the Chinese Communist Party and people like that. And now they're looking for all the details so that they can prove it, because obviously people on the other side are going to be skeptical. That's understandable. So they have to find proof.
Democratic Congressman Dan Goldman came out, I think it was about 2 hours in, and was questioned by the media. And one of the things he did state was that Devon Archer confirmed that the President of the United States, as Vice President, I'm assuming, did get on phone calls with Hunter and Hunter's business associates at least 20 times. Is reasonable inference enough to hold any weight?
Well, there's a thing called consciousness of guilt, and that is if you're, if you're running down the street from the alarm going off when the bank has been robbed, then that's a good indication. Maybe you're the guy that did it. That's at least part of the evidence. In this case, what were they hiding? Joe Biden said repeatedly that he didn't have that discussion with his son. He didn't even know what his son's business dealings were, which was always strange, his son riding on the plane with him to China and things like that. But, during the debate, Biden said that he didn't know anything about what his son was up to. They recently changed that to he wasn't in business with his son, the White House spokesman did. So the question is, why do they keep changing their story, and what are they trying to hide? And obviously, the fact that Biden was directly in on these deals is part of it. It's important to keep in mind, though, under international law enforcement standards, if a family member is collecting your bribe money for you, it's still you that's responsible, and particularly if it's a child, because otherwise that's what every crooked politician would do. They would just have their children get their money for them, and that's what it appears happened here.
So this evidence, or hypothetical evidence, doesn't seem to look good for the sitting president of the United States. What are the potential implications for him?
Well, bribery is specifically listed as something for which you can be impeached. It's listed in the Constitution. And I think people are reluctant to go down that road. Nobody wants to go down that road again. Of course, Trump was impeached for looking into Joe Biden getting bribes, if you recall, or supposedly for doing that the first time Trump was impeached. And it's kind of weird, isn't it, that the person who investigated the crook gets impeached, but then you're not supposed to impeach the crook. And so the question is, will Republicans think his term's running out, they can force him to not run for re-election, and maybe that'll be enough? But the power of impeachment gives you the power to investigate in ways that you couldn't otherwise. And I think that's maybe what Republicans are looking for as well.
I want to switch gears here and talk about former President Trump. Today, a Georgia judge rejecting an effort by the former president to have evidence thrown out in front of a grand jury, and also what does this mean for him moving forward?
Oh, I think it's very likely that he'll be indicted in Georgia. They may even try it in Arizona, where some of the same language was used. But let me just point out how ridiculous this is. I've been a political reporter for 50 years, and my first scoop when I was 17 was catching a state legislator stealing an election. I've covered many cases of election fraud. The first thing you always look for in a case of election fraud, whether it's real or whether you think it might be the case, is you look for enough votes to overturn the result if you can find those crooked votes. And that's what it sounds like that Trump was asking for, to find those fraudulent votes. That's what you would do if you sincerely believed the election had been stolen. Even if it wasn't stolen, and you sincerely believe that, you would still ask for that. It means nothing. It's simply the first legal standard toward being able to challenge an election, is you have to find enough questionable votes to possibly overturn the election. You have to have that number, and that sounds like what he was looking for.
Dr. Allen, thank you.
Thank you.
A new poll confirming former President Trump's popularity among Republicans despite his legal woes. That's as Trump says another indictment could come any day now. NTD's Iris Tao has more.
Former President Trump has 54% support among likely Republican primary voters, leading Florida Governor Ron DeSantis by a staggering 37-point margin. That's according to a new New York Times and Siena College poll released today, which shows that no other candidate has reached over 3% support. And Trump's wide lead comes despite legal challenges facing the former president. Among those polled, 7 in 10 Republican voters say that they don't think Trump has committed any serious crimes.
These are ridiculous indictments, and all they're doing is hoping for massive election interference. That's all they want to do.
Trump condemning the latest indictments in a rally this past weekend and said today that he expects another indictment to come any day now on charges related to January 6. And that's as the classified documents case continues to escalate, as special counsel Jack Smith added 3 charges against Trump last week and is now going after a new defendant.
Back up.
Mar-a-Lago property manager Carlos de Oliveira is accused of attempting to delete CCTV footage sought by the grand jury. He appeared in a Miami court for the first time today and is expected to enter a plea next week. And all this happens as Trump's Save America Super PAC has reportedly spent over $40 million on legal fees since the start of this year. And Trump's team says it's necessary to both combat actions against Trump and to protect innocent people who worked for Trump from financial ruin. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Iris Tao, NTD News.
Where does our future generation stand on the political spectrum? Recent data shows that 12th grade boys in America are trending overwhelmingly conservative, whereas girls at the same age are leaning left. NTD's Sam Wong has more.
According to a survey from Monitoring the Future, around 23% of U.S. high school senior boys identify as conservatives or very conservative in 2022. That number is nearly double those who consider themselves liberal. Girls, on the other hand, are becoming increasingly left-leaning. From 2012 to 2022, 12th grade girls who hold liberal views rose from 19% to 30%, and only 12% see themselves as conservative. The same trend is also happening among women between 18 to 30. Political views among teenage boys have changed slowly but drastically over the years. During the Carter administration, both boys and girls leaned more towards the left. Fast forward through the 1980s all the way into the late 2000s, conservatism began to see its rise in boys, and liberal views only dominated on a few occasions. The politics of young men have remained almost static over the last 2 decades, but the increase of young liberal women is enough to steer youth polling as a whole towards that direction. So where does our youth actually stand in politics? To find out, I spoke with some of them walking by.
Liberal, yeah.
Conservative.
I think I'm more of an independent.
I'm going to have to say I'm more liberal.
I would definitely say I'm probably more liberal.
And some gave me their reasons.
It just kind of aligns with the way I think this country should be run. A lot with the Kennedy-esque politics, I think.
I suppose I mainly support Democratic candidates because they're generally lean a little bit more economically and socially liberal.
Definitely because I support like women's rights and minority rights, and I'm pro-choice.
Despite the ongoing trend, most high school seniors claim no political identity. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Sam Wang, NTD News.
Thank you for watching the Capitol Report. If you want to see our full broadcast, check us out at epochtv.com.